Hi everyone, I'm here to talk about the current trend and updates in religion in our public schools. So, purpose of presentation is to inform the school board of updates in religion in schools. I'm going to use Pew Reports, U.S. Department of Education stance on protective prayer and the religious expression in school, and President Trump's current philosophy on prayer in school. So first, a little background on the First Amendment and Establishment Clause and Free Exercise Clause. The two clauses say Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. So looking at the Establishment Clause and free exercise, let's look at some of the current cases involving religion in schools. So the Pledge of Allegiance, they determined that the Ninth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals in 2010 reversed the district court decision ruling that the reciting the Pledge of Allegiance did not constitute an establishment of religion. And then this other Supreme Court, Bannon versus School District of Palm Beach County in 2004, those school officials were told their students to remove their religious messages and symbols during a school beautification project, and that was allowed because it would become on the shoulders of the administration. And then creatism and evolution, this has been an ongoing thing for years. There's been a lot of cases about it, but it always comes down to evolution is scientific, as where creatism is based on religious belief. Okay, so student religious rights. Tinker v. Des Moines School District in 1969 really set a precedent. There were students that were wearing armbands that showed they were not support of the Vietnam War. And the case came out that school authorities may not suppress expression by students unless the expression significantly disrupts school discipline or invades the rights of others. This is a huge precedent that was set because a lot of students, especially I've taught Supreme Court cases to students and their rights before, and a thing that they continue to ask is, well, we have a freedom of speech, why can't we do this, or why can't we wear that, why do we have a dress code, all this stuff, and it all comes down to if it disrupts, the learning environment of others, then the administration has the ability to suppress that expression. But a lot of cases have come after this because that's such a there's such a big gray area with those. So what are other students' rights? So students, if they act on their own, can engage in religious activities and discussions. Students may pray or bless before meals in school or assemble on school grounds for religious purposes, but it has to be all acting on their own. Students may not engage in religious harassment or force other students to participate. And schools before I move on, if students are engaging in religious harassment or forcing other students to participate in their religious beliefs, then the school does have the authority to step in and end that. And then schools may not favor or disfavor students or groups based on religion. So if you're going to give one group a right to do something, then you have to give all groups a right to do something. So if if a student wants to start a group like a Spanish club, students also have to be able to form a club based on a religious religion. Okay, so teacher administration, our rights. So when we're off duty, school employees are free to engage in worship and any other lawful faith-based activities. And then during school time, teachers and administrators are not to promote religion. So if a teacher is at school and they want to pray, that is totally fine, but they have to do it in private, just like taking a personal phone call. But during school time, they cannot promote religion. But if a teacher is like the leader of a Bible study or something and one of their students is in their Bible study class, that's okay, as long as it is not during school time. Okay, Equal Access Act, this is also huge, is designed to ensure that student religious activities are accorded the same access to federally funded public secondary school facilities as our student secular activities. So you can't tell a group of students that they can or cannot do something based on their religious activities if you're going to let activities use the same like facilities and stuff like that as non-religious activities. So if you're going to let students, like I said, join a Spanish club, you have to let them have a club based on their religion as well. Okay, so protective prayer and religious expression due to the United States Department of Education. Prayer during non-instructional time. So students can pray during non-instructional time. Teachers can pray during non-instructional time. Organized prayer groups and activities is allowed. Students can do this. They just can't have a teacher sponsored unless, like I said earlier, it's outside of school. So if you have your own prayer group and like through your church or something, and one of your kids is one of your students is in that group, that's okay. So teacher, administrators, and other school employees, we cannot encourage or discourage religion, but can still pray in private, like I said earlier. Just like taking a personal phone call, you can go pray in private. Moments of silence, schools, sports, anything like that, they can do moments of silence. We just can't encourage, discourage, or require students to pray during that moment of silence. Accommodation of prayer during instructional time. So students can leave school if they need to partake in a religious activity. So an example that was given by the U.S. Department of Education was if you have a student who is Muslim and needs to go practice their religion during Ramadan, then they are excused from class to go pray during that time, or any religion during any type of time they need to pray. Prayer and class assignments, students are allowed to include their prayer and their religious beliefs in class assignments without being deducted points or bias grading or anything like that. Student assemblies and non-curricular events, along with prayer at graduation, both of these things, they can't happen. No bias speakers, no prayer at assemblies or non-curricular events or at graduation. And then the last one, basically what I was talking about earlier as well, if you're going to let a private group, so at Mill Creek, for example, we have a basketball team that comes in and they rent our gym and to play basketball. We have to, since we let them do that as a private group, if a religious group wanted to come in and rent our facilities and we are available to rent them, we can't turn them away based on whatever religion they're practicing. So by opening our doors to that basketball team, we are opening our doors to anybody who's willing to rent our facilities during an open time. Okay, religious literature. So students can pass around religious literature if they would like, just like they could do a normal book. The only thing that school really has the authority of is, it has to be during a time where it's not going to be a distraction. So if you can't pass around a, fiction or nonfiction book, then you can't pass around your religious literature as well at that time. But, like during lunch or an appropriate time, you can, share religious literature with your classmates. Teaching about religion, this is really interesting. We cannot necessarily instruct about religion, but we can teach about religion. So like social studies teachers, or if you're taking a religious focused class, we can teach about religion, but we can't, be biased or anything like that. So when it comes to social studies or sometimes like art is influenced by different religious time periods, stuff like that, then you can talk about religion, but you can't, be biased or instruct somebody to be a certain religion or to partake in that religion. Student dress code and policies. So we administrators cannot require that a student can't dress or, wear their crosses or anything like that. The only time that would be not allowed is if, for whatever reason, that dress code is causing a distraction or breaking one of the other rules that students have to follow. And then religious excusals, we kind of talked about this earlier, but if we have to treat a student who is leaving school for a religious event the same way as a parent excused absent for a non-religious event. But in addition, in some circumstances, based on federal or state constitutional law or pursuit of state statutes, schools may be required to make accommodations that relieve substantial burdens on students' religious exercise. School officials are therefore encouraged to consult with their attorneys regarding such obligations. So that is a exception for treating them the same. But like they said, when anything like that ever happens, contacting an attorney is the best choice. So what is our current administration's philosophy regarding religion in school? So President Trump had warned school administrators the risk of losing federal funding if violation of students' rights to religious expression happens. And he did not propose changes to existing law or regulations, but the White House says it wants to empower students and teachers to exercise their rights. And the Department of Education said they will send a letter to education secretaries and officials in 50 states reminding them that students and teachers can't be discriminated against for practicing their First Amendment religious rights. Some say that Trump is breaching the separation of church and state, but he is taking this religion in school, prayer. He really wants students to feel like they have that freedom, that right. So what to do with all this information? I think it's really important that our school board continues to update our policies on everything, but today, obviously, we're talking about religion, and inform teachers and students of their rights. Some teachers and some students may not fully understand their rights, and I think it's important that we all understand what our religious rights are, and that we continue to stay informed to make sure that we don't get in any trouble. So that's all I have for you guys today. Thank you for listening. Here are my references if you want to go back and read in further detail. There's great information. So thanks again.